in terms of like ROI, return on investment, the small amount of effort for the massive amount of payoff
Yes,
in a family, man,
100%.
this is it. Like this will, yeah, I've heard families go through a training system process and literally within 2 or 3 weeks, they feel like their family is completely different.
Hi, welcome to the Family Teams podcast. Our goal here is to help your family become a multi-generational team on mission by providing you with biblically rooted concepts, tools, and rhythms. Your hosts are Jeremy Pryor and Jefferson Bethke, and we can't wait to chat about all things family.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with my lovely wife, April. April, what's going on downstairs right now?
Hello. Right now, our daughter Elisa is doing Tea Time Tuesday.
Yes. And
Is
yeah,
where she,
what is it's quite interesting to walk through the kind of our living room during Tea Time Tuesday. It's kind of like an immersive experience. So she's got one of those videos playing of the coziest coffee shop in the world with
yeah,
music.
music in the background. And she has a bird and she has like a mobile cage for it. So the bird is set up in the big living room, and then she's been baking for a couple hours. She uses Tea Time Tuesday to be the day that where she like experiments with a new recipe. Um, she got a new teapot, things like that. So she's in her element right now, and she
Yes.
has some younger friends coming over. Some people in our community wanted their daughters to have this kind of feminine experience, so they're coming to um hang out with Elisa during her tea party. So she just opens it to our household. It's like the grandparents and then our daughter lives across the street can come, and it's just an hour long, and just come and touch base, have
Yeah.
some tea, and then back to your day. So
Yeah, it's so cool. You know, the sort of relaxed, spontaneous conversations. And when you think about it, in the British kind of world where tea time, I don't know if it still is, but used to be a thing, it really prioritizes connection and conversation. And I think part of Elisa's heart is she really wants to celebrate what kind of unique elements femininity brings into our life as a family. And having four daughters, one of the things we talked a lot about recently is just having a culture that actually celebrates masculinity and femininity as distinct things is less and less popular as a culture as Boy Scouts become just the Scouts or whatever. Like we're trying to
yeah.
say, no, 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 it's really good to celebrate these things. Like a gender is actually a gift. And Elisa made a video on her channel, something like about how feminism has killed femininity. Anyway, check it out if you want to
Yeah.
heavy dose of how Elisa thinks about these things. And she is very much her own person about how to think through these things from her perspective. She did a deep dive in that video, which was really awesome. I mean, it was just such a cool thing to see how she just explores the whole topic of femininity and how much I think she just personally wants to explain why it's a good thing. Like this is one of the things we actually have to do as a culture. Once again, is just explain why femininity is good and masculinity is good and celebrate those things. So
Yeah.
I'm pumped that she's doing that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, before we dive into today's topic, we're going to get into training your kids. So if you've been wondering about, oh, what is it, instead of just reacting all the time and wishing kind of that, oh, I wish my kids just behave differently. So many people walk around with sort of, I would say the kind of the hyper Western bias that behavior is primarily just a reflection of somebody's personality as opposed to a reflection of proactive training. And so we want to talk about that and give you guys some really practical tools. Before we go there, I wanted to just remind you guys that Family Inc., our program for how to help families launch their own businesses or start to work together as a team to build assets. That program is only going to be open for a few more days as you guys are listening to this. So you can go to familyteams.com and check out Family Inc. And so I've been, sort of writing some stuff about that. The main reason why people join Family Inc. is because as they begin to try to work as a team, they start to become frustrated with the fact that their lives is be dominated by this thing called work. And what would happen if this thing that is just constantly sucking up enormous amounts of time could be done with the family, so that while you're working, some portion of that time could possibly actually overlap with your family, and that you could actually experience that team aspect of your family in those large blocks of time. Is that possible? And even while your kids are young, maybe they're in school, maybe starting to launch something so that as your kids become adults, this is something that you can recapture. April just returned from getting a ball of receipts from one of our son-in-laws because she does books for their construction business. We've just practiced this for the last 20 plus years. Let's just do stuff together. And so all of our kids are bought in and starting businesses, and we're trying every which way to like help them, support them, in various ways, bring our skills together and just say, hey, this is just the natural way God made families. We're not just built to be together to recreate or watch Netflix. We're actually designed to build things together. So if you're interested in that, go check out Family Inc. Just go to familyteams.com and click on Family Inc. When people sign up for that, one of the things, we've been doing this program for 3 or 4 years now, and it's gotten better and better. And so there are some things that to me are really unique about its current iteration. One of the things I've been able to do over the years is gather other coaches. So I found so we have this mastermind called Integrated. We have over 100 guys who have successful businesses, and the best business coaches from Integrated are helping me with Family Inc. So we've got, Brian, Ian, Chris, these other guys who, it's not just me coaching. Jeff jumps on there sometimes, but it's also these 3 guys are on there all the time. And so you will get a variety of coaching, and each of these guys has launched multiple successful businesses. So that's been a huge blessing for me, is just, getting to have almost a whole team of people work on your business with you as you and your spouse are launching something. The other thing that's, I think, so underrated in Family Inc. is that we have a library of business ideas. So when you log in, you're going to see over 30 business ideas, and each one of them is a interview that me or my friend Landon did to interview a family that has launched a successful business and believes that this model could work for other families in other cities or other regions. And so a lot of people are like, oh, what if I don't have any ideas? I actually kind of prefer people join Family Inc. with no ideas, because oftentimes we have to talk them out of the idea and say, hey, that may be a great second business, but that's not going to maybe be the most safe thing to launch as your first business. Check out these 20 ideas. And so anyway, so we have over 30 now. And another thing that's occurred is that some of these businesses, they have worked for so many families that now the original family that launched the business is also helping coach those families to help them get off the ground. So many of them have said, yes, give them my phone number, my email. I'll be happy to help, walk them step by step through how I launched this kind of business. This was my dream, when starting Family. I'm like, I saw this, and when we first started it, it was like, okay, I know this is going to be amazing someday. It'll be great now, but it'll be amazing someday when we have a whole community of families helping other families get free financially, work as teams. And man, it's happening. And this is why I'm so excited about Family Inc. So please, we only open the cart a couple times a year. So jump in there now. I think it's going to open for a few more days. So if you're thinking about it, we'd love to help you.
I want to also say, I think as part of the coaching, we have once a month a motherhood call and a fatherhood call.
Yeah.
And I think that they're great ways to supplement, because we understand that starting a business has lots of implications for your whole family. And so getting to have a place where the wives can kind of, sometimes it's the husband that's a little more involved in the business, sometimes it's the wife that's a little more involved, but having a place for both the father and the mother to kind of hash out things that are coming up within the family that might be separate from the business, but somehow kind of connected, that it just has been a really helpful, I think, once a month touch point. It's sometimes just encouraging to hear from other like-minded moms that are in different parts of the country, to hear how they're dealing with this or that or this or that that's coming up. And sometimes you get actual how to from someone about something that they're going through. So it's like it's not just the coaching calls that are the calls that focus on the business. You can ask any question, any question about your business.
Yeah.
But then there's also like the personal side of it too. So we want it to have that integrated feeling where we understand that the business is going to have implications on the family and vice versa.
Yes. Yeah, that's what's unique about what we do. We're doing this to bless
Yeah.
your family. We're not like, this isn't, 10 ways to get rich quick. This is like, let's build assets together and let's just do all this at the same time. Let's build the kingdom, build the family, build our finances. These things actually interrelate. They help each other, but our culture sort of designed these all to be separate things. And so, we're a huge fan of integrating these things, and that's why we do the motherhood, fatherhood calls every month. So yeah, I do happy hour where all the dads, we all bring our special drinks and talk about our biggest fatherhood challenges. April coffee with April on motherhood, where the women do the same. So yeah, hopefully if you guys are interested, that'll be something. And speaking of training your kids and Family Inc. So the Family Teams Accelerator, the program that we've launched, so that every month we give you guys a different topic. We're about to like unveil this next month's topic. So the month of April has been all about the spring holidays, and Brent and Katie Krutoff were our coaches. They did incredible helping families launch their first Passover Seder's. I've been seeing pictures of that. It's awesome. This month, the month of May, is about training your kids. Let's get ready for summer. We're going to be having our kids around the pool, or want to have a good summer with our kids. I think it's really good time to invest in training your kids. And so we have community coaches, Grant and Kelly Stein. They actually went through Family Inc. Now he's a part of Integrated because he's got a successful business. Grant and Kelly, they are like superstars in this area where they've just really thought through practically how to train their kids. And so April and I have training systems we use for our kids. Our kids are a little older, so I always want to have parents of younger kids also coaching you guys in the Accelerator. So we're going to go through some of the playbook that Grant and Kelly wrote. It's awesome. And like every month, we publish 3 plays, a 3-part playbook for how to implement the theme of the month. And so we'll give you guys a little teaser on each one of these, because this will be really helpful to you guys. Even if you're not a part of the Accelerator, I want to like sort of share with you some of the things that really are the most helpful about training your kids. If you want a free download, Grant and Kelly wrote this awesome list of like their top 12 tips for training. So just go to familyteams.com/train. And you can get that download and you can see these 12 tips. We'll share a couple of them with you on this podcast. And I wanted April and I to kind of talk through the ones that have been most impactful for us. But you guys can grab that over at familyteams.com/train and take a look there. So we're going to jump into their playbook. The 3 plays that they published in the playbook are: play number 1 is develop a training system. Play number 2 is the 12 tips that we can give you guys for free over at familyteams.com/train. And then play 3, and this is one that I actually learned from Grant and Kelly, training routines and developing routines. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Man, I love this idea. Hadn't heard about this as much before, and I think this is absolutely brilliant. But number 1, developing a training system. April, we were really into this idea. This was super helpful for us raising our kids. A lot of people don't have a training system. They don't actually have a means of training. So when you have a new job, you show up your first day of the job, guess what happens? Like, they immediately sit you down and start to figure out how to train you for the new job. You join a new sport, never play baseball. I remember when Jackson went out for football, goes out to practice literally like for like 2 or 3 months before their first game. It was just training. Kyra just went out for debate. A lot of kids, they'll do like 6 months of debate club before their first tournament. And when our kids join our family, we're like, do what I tell you, or you'll be disciplined. like it's so strange. We don't have any proactive way of training. And this is actually the most commanded thing given to fathers, right? Both in Ephesians 6, when Paul had one thing to say to dads, he said, train up your children in the instruction of the Lord. Hebrews 12 says the same thing. Fathers, train your children. And obviously Proverbs, train up your child in a way. You should go train. But you talk to probably 95% of Christian parents and say, well, what's your strategy for training? What's your system for training? They'll look at you and say, well, we have a system for disciplining our kids when they don't do what we tell them, but we don't have a system for training, which is the most repeated command. So yeah, what what do you see here as the kind of key or something that stands out to you about developing a training system?
Well, I think, first of all, I just want to speak to the training discipline thing. I think for years, I don't know, just my brain interpreted those as like synonyms.
Yes.
Like, and one, you could use one word or the other, they're interchangeable, training, discipline, same thing. But really, um, they're not.
No.
So I feel like if you understand that training is the idea of showing a child how to do something and then making sure they have enough reps at that thing that they have it down or they get it now or now they know. And you can tell that they're capable of the thing and they're able to do the thing. Then the discipline can come after that when you
Right.
see um either defiance of that thing they've been
Right.
trained in or a lack of attention to the thing that they've been trained in or things like that, then there can be this follow through with discipline. And I think that that's just really important that parents kind of see the dichotomy that we need to train the kids first so that they're not, I think if we see this used in a negative light, we just assume that you're just like, beating your kids or something like that.
Right.
But if you're taking time to train them, show them, display, make sure they're capable, all of those things. It makes a lot more sense that you then have to follow up with a discipline if the thing that they've been trained in is something that they're ignoring or disobeying or
Can I,
whatever.
yeah, maybe if I could underline that again, going back to the analogy, imagine if you went to your first day of work and you sat down at a computer, didn't know the first thing, but you only got disciplined for not doing the right thing. That's what it's like for a lot of kids in Christian families. Like you do get disciplined if I spend a month training you to do a job, I train you to say my pleasure at Chick-fil-A, and you never say it, you might get disciplined for that, right? You might get written up or whatever. Same thing with a sport. You the first day of sports, you don't just like hand a kid the baseball bat. You show them, you work with them. But if after months of training, they refuse to put into practice the basic things that they can do, you've seen them do it, they've drilled it a million times, and they just are like, I just wasn't focused. Then you tell them, oh, go run a lap. Like that's the when discipline. Discipline is this thing that happens after training. And yeah, to your point, April, it's really weird how for some reason these things have sort of merged in the family world where discipline and training are the same thing and oftentimes discipline just sort of subsumes training and becomes the only pathway to it. So that's why we're all recovering from that idea. And we are completely pro discipline. Like have a way to make sure that once you've trained your kids, they actually pay attention to your training. Great. There's lots of ways that you can do that. We're not going to go into detail on that topic because this is the one that really is missing. So yeah, what are some things that stand out to you about the training system?
I do think it's important to have a system of some kind. I think for us, a system that we used was the marble system,
Yeah.
and that was very valuable. Um, you do have to be a little bit older to do that. I feel like around age 4 or 5 is really when the marble system starts to take effect. So this isn't something for if you're training, a 2-year-old to come or, your 1.5-year-old to come immediately. But the idea of giving positive reinforcement for something that you have trained them in, anything from like cleanup time, cleaning up your toys, putting your shoes where they belong, hanging up your coat when you walk in the door, um, you know, getting yourself buckled in your car seat, like all of these things, um, are things that you can train your kids in. And then when they do them, they can get a positive reward, as part of the training system. And for us, it was the marbles, and you save up so many marbles and you get to earn something, earn an ice cream cone or earn a toy. We had a whole system set up with like, if you get X amount, then this is the thing you get. If you get X amount, then this is the thing you get. So, that taught so many things that weren't even expecting, like the idea of delayed gratification, having to save up for something and then getting it, um, deciding ahead of time. As they got older, we had them decide ahead of time what they were gonna do when they were resetting their marbles. Okay, now what are you gonna do this time? Are you gonna try to save up for 30, or you can cash in your chips at 10, you know? So we would there's other lessons that came along with it, but having a system that you use, whether it's stickers or, you know, so, but it's some kind of visual thing or tangible, ours was marbles, where they could earn a marble. They got to put a marble in their bowl, and then they would lose a marble if, you know, there was an
So
infraction of some
tragic.
kind. It was like
Yes.
torture when they had to go take a marble out of their bowl and put it back.
Right.
So, a system is you have to be very active. You have to be on top of it,
Yeah.
but it's really worth it. And this, just a reminder that this is what you're doing at this time in your kids' lives. Doing a system does take time and focus and attention, and you have to set it up well from the beginning so the kids don't get confused. So take your time to figure out what system is going to work well for you and kind of think through the implications, but it needs to be somewhat simple, not too complicated. The kids need to be able to very quickly have success. You know, we tried to make it so that our kids would get whatever the reward was very quickly. Because we wanted them to taste success so that they could be like, "Oh, that's what this is," and have it be a real
Nice.
win.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. If you're wondering, like, what are areas you can train your kids in? Like, you train, you know, when they're really young, you train them how to come, how to stop right away, how to taste new foods. We done how to greet adults, how to interrupt you when you're talking so you can finish a sentence, how to resolve sibling conflict. I mean, there's so many cool areas you can train your kids in. It's like, again, you're getting a new teammate on this team, and it's like, congratulations, like, you know, mom, dad. Now we get to like begin the process of training them in this family culture, and so yeah, you need to spend some time thinking through how to do that. One of the things that, if you guys get a hold of this playbook that Grant and Kelly tease out really well, is they have this visual of, and there's 3 steps to every training process, and like I said, whether you're starting a sport or starting a job, it's always these 3 steps: demonstrate, drill, defend. In other words, the first step is somebody shows you how to do it, then somebody says, okay, why don't you try it? And if it's something that requires a lot of muscle memory, like a sport, they'll drill you in it over and over again. And then eventually, if they know you've got it, then they'll defend it. In other words, that's the coach who says take a lap if you aren't paying attention and aren't doing what you're trained to do. But those are the 3 steps of every training process. Well, what Grant and Kelly have talked about in this playbook is actually making that visible in some kind of big way. So you have like 3 boxes: demonstrate, drill, defend. And so you have Post-it notes, and you can be like, let's say we're training our kids right now how to interrupt us, you know, when we're in the middle of a conversation. All right, so we're going to start with demonstrate. So you show them, okay, I want you to put your hand on my arm so I'm going to start a conversation with mom, and you're going to run in, hey, mom, you know, like, and then I want to show you exactly. And so oftentimes, like, you just want to act this out in the most dramatic way in front of your kids, and they'll get it much faster that way. You know, you're showing them, you know, this is what we're currently doing as a family now. And you can show them this is not working. Like, I can't even finish a conversation with one of my friends. And it's really important that part of our family mission, and we talk at our kids about this, we're trying to make disciples. We're trying to, you know, listen to people's hearts. Like, we need to be careful that we're not disrespecting this other person that's in this conversation. You're not disrespecting your mom or dad, because we could be talking about something really important. But, you know, you're also really important. So we want you to put your hand on my arm. I'll acknowledge you immediately that I know you're there. And when I finished a sentence or finished a paragraph and I can pause, I'll turn to you, and then I will address whatever your concerns are. That one thing, if you've got like 4 or 5 kids, is going to, like, you know, take so much chaos out of your family. And it's just so simple. So demonstrate that to your kids, drill, like, practice it a few times. And then once everyone knows it, you're like, okay, everyone here knows it. Okay, if you fail to do this, the next time you run in here and just start calling my name, you're going to lose a marble, right? But every single time I feel that hand, then it's going to probably trigger for me, like, why don't you go ahead and put a marble in your bowl? Like, so there's a whole season of just training on that over and over again. We're just constantly positively reinforcing what's been trained, and our kids really are enjoying that. By the way, one of the things I love about having a reward system is it stops you from ever having to really say no to your kids about, like, buying something, because the question that you always want a kid to ask when they're like, mom, can I get this? Can I get that? You ever take your kid to the store and they want everything, right? You don't ever want them to shut. That's all good motivation. Like, that's all fodder for entrepreneurial, like interest. Like, you want to take all that interest and point it at something, like, and gamified and say, okay, yeah, you can get there, but like, this is how you're going to get it. So we always said to our kids, like, of course you can buy that stuff, but then they won't have enough marbles. They don't have any money. Well, how can I get that? Well, okay. Well, like, so anytime, do you have the money to buy that? Do you want to get that? Do you have enough marbles to have an ice cream? Oh, okay. Well, let me show you how to get there. Now, all of that interest is focused now on the things you're training them in, and they see how to get there. So that creates this awesome culture where your kids aren't constantly like trying to figure out how to basically annoy you to get stuff, but they're trying to figure out how to enter the family culture to get stuff, to be a better team player to get stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's just a way better way of using that energy than simply saying no. All right. Then Grant and Kelly also wrote in the playbook this second play, which I thought was, again, grab this if you're interested in training your kids at all. familyteams.com/train. You get 12 tips for training your kids. I love all 12 of these. This is such a great list. April, why don't you just share one of these that kind of stood out to you?
Well, I want to encourage people on the second tip that they share is start early.
Okay.
And I just really want to emphasize this because I think there's a lot of confusion out there.
Yeah.
About, just discipline and training, period, but then also when and what the age is. So, we have a 2-year-old grandson. He's about to turn 2. And I am blown away at what this kid is
Amazing.
capable of.
Yeah.
Because of how well trained he is.
Yeah.
And he's just now turning 2. So the amount of training that our daughter and her husband have already put into him by the time he's 2 has made him a delight to be around.
Yes.
Someone who can control his emotions. He is very obedient. He's not perfect. He definitely has his moments where he'll, say no or something like that. But the way he stands back when you open the oven, when I know, it's like you don't even have to tell him anymore.
Yes.
I told my daughter, I'm like, this kid's going to be a breeze to potty train because he just has the idea of training down.
Yes. He's potty training himself. He's like, I want to, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you watch him around like iPhones, like our smartphones, like he won't touch them.
Yes.
He's been trained
to not even touch.
It's amazing. Yeah. He won't. Yeah.
And so he will bring you your water bottle, but not your phone. Or he will, he will ask if he can see a picture on your phone, but he will not pick your phone up and try to find the picture. And so it is, and like I said, they've been working, probably actively training him since he was 9 months old. And so I want to I think if you don't have kids, that sounds so young. 9 months or 10 months or something sounds really young. But when you have a child and you're watching them develop, there will come a time when you see it in their eyes and you can tell they're testing you. That is the time to jump on it. As soon as you can tell, they're like, she didn't want me to drop my sippy cup off the tray of my high chair. Like, are you sure?
Yes.
And as soon as you see that little look in their eyes, that's when you realize like, oh, they're cognitively able to
and
realize
they're going to start testing. Yeah.
Yes. And so that is when you start and you can say the word no, no to your child. No, we don't throw the sippy cup on the floor. I think a lot of parents are afraid to even say the word no today. I've noticed that a lot. They'll redirect constantly or something like that. But you can say as the parent, no, we don't yell in our house. No, we don't throw our sippy cup. No, we don't, So there are these things that just by being around your child on a daily basis, you can see their development happening and you can decide as the parent what culture and tone you want to have in the house. And then you can start training your child, along with that.
Yes.
So starting early I
love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. That's so important, you guys. And part of this is to, there's sort of an assumption in our culture that, you're having 1 or 2 kids that are going to be hyper individualistic. And I think that's crafted a lot of our kid culture. Whereas in our family, for example, we want our kids to be a team and we love the possibility of having large families. Well, if you're looking towards either of those goals or both of those goals as a family, man, you're going to really need to think about this area of training much differently than somebody who's got one or two kids and just is trying to bear with,
Yes.
their kids' behaviors, because you're going to need to craft an environment where you're going to be with your kids a lot. You're going to need to be
Yep.
careful that you love the culture of your home. That you're not burning out as couples and feeling like we can't have any more. And the difference between a household that is well ordered and a household that is completely drowning in chaos is mostly training. It's not really a matter of how many children you have. And in fact, in some
Right.
ways, having a larger family, especially if you got a few well-trained older kids, can oftentimes be a lot more orderly than a smaller family that allows
Yes.
for kind of hyper individualistic behavior and impulsive childish behavior, and celebrates or rewards that. Oftentimes inadvertently, but that's kind of what we do in our culture. So I love that. They also have high expectations. And this is similar to what you said: treat each kid 1 to 2 years older than their age. They are more capable than you think and will step up to your expectations. And
Yeah.
this is what's so fun to watch, because a lot of people just they're not used to encountering well-trained children. And they think in some way, again, that there's sort of an instinct this is a very modern, strange idea that's a violation of that child's individual self-expression. That's the idol of our culture. The number one
Yep.
thing that Americans or Western people agree with is that the highest value in life is individual self-expression. That dominates all of our politics. It dominates our ideas of sexuality. It dominates our ideals of parenting. And so you got to knock that down a few rungs and say, no, we care a lot about actually having an environment in which we know how to love each other well. And that requires us to serve one another, and it requires us to control ourselves, to sometimes say no to ourselves. Man, that's a very different kind of culture than is being rewarded and promoted and celebrated in our culture today. And so I love what you're saying, April. Just start early. And I think some of this sort of saying no is because there's the bigger yes you're saying. Like, we're trying to build this kind of a culture in our family. And so you want to invite your children into a bigger, broader world. And some of the reasons why I love starting early is I just want to spend a lot more time with my kids. And I'm so excited because our kids are training their kids. This is just going to make grandparenting not only like just fun for us, it's just going to make it more sustainable for us. We were taking Elijah out for a couple hours, and we ran into his other grandparents on our street. Yeah, we live in that kind of a town. It's unbelievable. We live in Mayberry. We were just walking down the street, and his grandparents were running into his other grandparents, and we happened to be in front of the local restaurant, and we just were sitting out, and we spent like an hour and a half talking, and it was just perfect, like Fort Thomas,
Yeah.
Kentucky night.
Yeah.
Everything was amazing. And Elijah, he was so much fun to be with. He had four grandparents that were all just so we were able to engage him in so many ways and just be with him a lot and not get frustrated or burnt out. And of course, what this does for his parents, who need their own time, their date nights, they need us to also not burn out and to really enjoy. And I know there are different kinds of kids. Some kids are harder than others, but man, all kids are capable of being well trained. This can really help each of your children. And I do think starting early and having those higher expectations can make it a lot easier on the family. So,
Yeah.
we really encourage you guys, get a hold of this playbook, jump into the Accelerator, go to familyteams.com under resources, click on the Accelerator if you want to join us for this next month of May. I'd love to have more families in there that are interested in training. And so what's going to happen in the course of the Accelerator is the first week you're going to get this full playbook from the Steins, and we're going to send that to you guys. The second week, there's going to be a Zoom call with Grant and Kelly and you guys. It's called a community coaching call, and you guys can ask them all your questions about how this works in their family. The third week, we're going to send you guys a video kind of tutorial from April and I about how we do this. And then the fourth week, we're going to have a town hall meeting with April, myself, some of our adult kids. And yeah, you can ask them all your questions about okay, did your parents, did the training destroy your individuality? Whatever questions you guys have, you can ask them. They'll be there on the Zoom town hall. And you can also, we talk about anything that final week of every month. We just talk about whatever is helpful for your family team. We just want to help you guys accelerate the process of becoming a team. So you guys can jump over there if you're interested. So the last thing I want to say about the playbook, you guys that are in the Accelerator, definitely ask Grant and Kelly about this, because they've developed this, and I never really thought about. We definitely had a couple of these, but the idea of crafting routines so that instead of just training your kids in one thing, right? Let's say you're training your child how to interrupt you, like I said, but a routine would be like how to go to bed, how to get up in the morning. April, you did an incredible job of this. Like for some people, so some people have amazing routines around how to go to sleep in terms of like all the steps and all the bonding that happens. But for whatever reason, I think we were like, we need this to be the easy button. And so April did an incredible job of training our kids. Basically, we could say one word and our kids were like going through a checklist, of like 8 things that they would do before putting themselves to bed. And we could obviously go in their room at that point and like pray with them, be with them, talk to them. Or if we just had a horrible day and we just needed to zone out somewhere, our kids were fine. They were putting themselves to bed. But I love the idea of routines. I think that's a really underutilized element of training. So, but Grant and Kelly have taken this to the next level. So you guys will see that in the playbook, but I love this idea. So, all right, guys, well, I will let you all go. Again, Family Inc. is closing in a few days. So go to familyteams.com, sign up for Family Inc. if you're interested, jump into the Accelerator. I just love these tools, these different things we're trying to do to try to figure out how to help you guys. I just want to encourage you guys, like, as we go through this, we're going to do a podcast next week with Grant and Kelly. I'm going to talk through with them some of the things they've learned. I want you guys to meet them and just hear straight from them some of the ways that they've trained their kids and how this impacted their family. I think this is one of the most critical, and in terms of like ROI, return on investment, the small amount of effort for the massive amount of payoff in a family,
100%.
man, this is it. Like this will, I've heard families go through a training system process, and literally within 2 or 3 weeks, they feel like their family is completely different. And so, yeah, this is something that we can all invest in and get better at. So we want to do this together, and excited for you guys to join us. So thanks so much, April, for jumping on here today.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to the Family Teams podcast. If you're enjoying this content or have learned something new, please make sure to leave a rating and review and share with a friend. To stay up to date with our events, new content, and products, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram @Family Teams.